GM fam, it's been a long time since we talked asynchronously here. I'm not sure if I still know how to do this, but the Discord suggested that we move to live chats on Fridays and see how that goes. So queue up your questions for Friday, but today get ready for some myth busting. We know that myths within cryptocurrency are rampant because information is very tough to come by. So maxis are going to be looking at things that are favorable to their token, whether grounded in reality or not, and fudsters will jump on any FUD they can. Today we're busting 3 myths about Curve. First up, Curve is primarily a stablecoin exchange. Now, it's true that Curve is great for stablecoins. They've got meta pools and factory base pools that make it optimum and ideal for launching a stablecoin pool. But is Curve primarily a stablecoin exchange? We can bust this directly. Go to the bottom of crv.fi, read the crypto volume share. If it is higher than 50%, we consider the myth busted. It is presently at 60%, and for the past week, crypto volume has been higher than stablecoin volume, mostly off the back of Try Crypto, which is doing fantastic. Second, Curve will death spiral when emissions run out. We are rating this myth as inconclusive because we have over 300 years before this will occur. So very few of you will be alive to understand whether this myth turned out to be true or not. I'll be around, but I'll no one left to gloat to. It's going to be a long time before Curve actually emits its last token, although you could argue that once it dips below 1 Curve being emitted per year, I believe, in about a century, we'll be close enough to see. The one thing that we can say about this is that with 300 plus years of time to look at this, if this does eventually become a problem and Curve devs don't look into it and figure out some kind of solution, then arguably Curve deserves to die. However, let's look at some related myths to this. Do Curve emissions actually drive TVL? We rate this one as probably true. We took a look at V1 pools. We could expand this to V2 pools, but it's a little bit trickier. But just looking at the V1 pools, which I think is what people are most concerned about, because V2 pools are a bit more resilient. V1 pools, if you look at the correlation between total volume locked and the gauge relative weights, there's a very strong correlation across many different factors. Overall, it's about 77%, and in some cases, it's as high as above 90%. So we do believe that it's TVLs that are being driven by the gauge votes, not the other way around, so we rate that as mostly true. A second related myth is a drop in the Curve token price will reduce TVLs. We rate this one as probably false. After all, it's easy enough to look at periods where Curve token price has gone up and where token price has gone down and see the effect on TVLs. And we saw very little correlation between Curve token price and TVLs, as well as very little correlation between the movement of Curve token price and TVLs. We did in fact see a greater degree of correlation for Ethereum price and TVLs. So there may be some truth to the statement that a drop in Ethereum's price might reduce Curve TVLs, but that's not the claim being advanced. So we rate the myth of a drop in Curve token price reducing TVLs as probably false. And finally, we explore this argument lately that the Curve PE ratio is too high, along with related concepts like specific numbers. Curve PE is greater than 100, and that Curve emissions are higher than their revenue. And this basket is much more inconclusive. So when we say Curve PE ratio is too high, of course, we need to assign a number or we can't possibly come up with something. But even if you assign a number, and here we picked 100 because that's kind of a large number, it still just really widely depends on how you are calculating this. In the stock market, this is like a straightforward calculation, but for Curve, where there's locking, what do you consider? Do you consider Curve's circulating supply, locked VECRV supply, total supply, max supply? These are all wildly different numbers that will give wildly different results. What about the revenues for Curve? Most people don't actually even include Curve's current trading volumes. They include just a fraction of it because they're using a poor estimate. It's relatively easy to come across Curve total trading volumes, and people don't use it. So that is what it is. But then on top of it, do you count bribes? Curve gets more money, about 2x from bribes. That's almost never included because that's way tougher to tally. So there's a wide variety of discretion in how you account this, and same with curve emissions being higher than revenue. So yes, it is true that curve emits more value worth of CRV than it presently makes in revenue. And we actually, when we think about this, we think this should always be true, in fact, because given that curve is a revenue generating token, if it was generating a surplus of revenue to its token value, at a certain point, it's just an improper token value. But moreover, it's just an accounting issue, because how do you account for token revenue? Is it like issuing direct assets? Is it issuing like a stock issuance? There would be a lot of discretion in how this is counted. And until there's some sort of generally accepted accounting principle behind it, we consider the entire concept of this question of calculating curve's PE ratio to be necessarily inconclusive. So this wraps up the first episode of Mythbusting, Curve Edition. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know which myths you'd like us to bust or corroborate. Thank you for your time, friends.